All right, boys, Tuesday, cruising through another week. Week 12 of the college football season, which means we're 2 weeks away from the regular season being over.
Don't say it like that.
Well, I have to say it like that, David, because it upsets me. And when things upset me, I have to say them in a certain way. And this upsets me. It just started.
It did just start.
But I will say, on a brighter note, Silver Linings playbook note down the future, some good college basketball on.
Villanova lost last night.
To Penn.
See that one?
Yeah, not even Penn State.
No, Penn.
Yeah.
Like a whole different.
Those Ivy League schools can be dangerous in college basketball. But
beating Villanova, though?
Weird seeing Villanova lose.
Also, Juwan Howard not out there for Michigan.
What's up with y'all's programs, dude?
Recovering
or any y'all's coaches?
He's recovering from heart surgery, I think.
That's right. For some reason, I thought, I forgot who it was. It may have been you last night, Blaine, that we were talking. We're like, where's Michigan's coach?
Who? Yeah. No, y'all were playing.
Last night we were playing St. John's with Rick Pitino. No, I guess Juwan
murdered him.
He flew with the team, but is having heart surgery.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Absolutely.
I like that jacket, by the way.
Thanks, man. I would take credit for picking it out, but I didn't.
No, that's all right. I still like it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're wearing it good.
Speaking about like this matchup, Unbeaten Georgia takes on Tennessee in Knoxville this Saturday in a big one. Josh Allen turns the ball over multiple times in another Bills loss. And Tim Brando, a.k.a. Him Brando, is going to join us to discuss the Big Ten suspension of Jim Harbaugh, Dan Lanning, Texas A&M, and so much more. I'm Jake Crane, and welcome to Crane & Company. Kirby Smart's racked up some incredibly impressive seasons here lately as the head coach. But when you take into account every aspect of 2023 so far and what he's had to deal with, in my opinion, this is without a doubt the most elite coaching job of his career. And you may ask why? Well, for starters, this team has lost more integral pieces the past 2 seasons than just about anyone. That includes a total of 25 players drafted in the last 2 drafts. And he just lost his 2-time defending national championship quarterback in Stetson Bennett. Now, the post-Stetson era is off to a record-breaking start with Carson Beck, his replacement, and the offense has navigated around key injuries, and they're not just winning. They are dominating. They're number 6 in total points and yards per game offensively. They're tops in the country on 3rd down and 4th down conversion rate as well. Now, this defense on the other side may not have the star power as the 2 years before them and their predecessors, but they are 7th and 8th in points and yards given up per game. Now, I don't care if you played the Little Giants or Mary Margaret and the Sisters of the Poor every game. That's pretty impressive. Now, people will whine about their schedule, and I get it to a certain extent, but they have now beaten a strong Missouri team, an Ole Miss team that's top 15 in the country, and it's not always just about who you beat, but how you beat them. But the job isn't finished yet, not even close. But lastly, Kirby has fought complacency like a damn champion. Now, he's had a few gifts of doubt that's been given to this year's team that he didn't have to manufacture adversity, but it's always harder to stay at the top and be malleable than it is to actually get to the top, especially with the amount of turnover that they've had lately. Now, plainly said, this Georgia Bulldogs program is a monster. It is a full-fledged problem for any grown man that lines up across from them at any position. When you turn on the tape, they still swarm to the ball as fast as ever. They look as hungry as ever. They still finish through the whistle every single play. And the key is that they've fallen in love with not only the result, because winning is contagious, but the blueprint and the design of how to get to that result. And that is what Kirby does best. I'm going to bring in my co-host, former Michigan quarterback David Cohn, my brother, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crane. Guys, looking at this Tennessee game, right now, Georgia's a 10.5-point favorite on the road. The over-under is 59.5. The juice right now is on the under at -112. And we're obviously going to talk about best bets, and I'm sure this line's going to move. But it seems like every test that gets thrown to this Georgia team, whether it be on the road, whether it be home, they not only pass, they pretty much pass with flying colors. And I think it's a multitude of things. But David, when you look at this team so far, Mike Bobo coming in as the OC, obviously. Glenn Schumann as the defensive coordinator, won't be there much longer. We know Kirby has a big hand in the defense. Compared to the past 2 years, where we're at right now, is this the best coaching job that Kirby Smart has done overall? And number two, how do you compare this Georgia team to the past two?
Well, I remember us sitting in the College Football Hall of Fame when Georgia was going to go play Alabama in that 2021 SEC championship, and we all looked around and said, we think Georgia has the most talent and has the best team, but until they can get over that Alabama hump, we can't pick them, right? And Georgia lost that game. They end up making the college football playoff. They come back and they win the national championship. Right, and we were in the next season. We come back and we say, okay, well, how do you deal with complacency after you won a national championship and not having won one for 40 years? There's no way Georgia will go undefeated and win another championship, right? And then they do that, and now all the changes you're talking about for this season, not just a new quarterback, but also your offensive coordinator Todd Monken goes back to the NFL. You bring Mike Bobo back in. You send all these guys to go play for the Eagles and possibly win a Super Bowl. It's like the Philadelphia Bulldogs up there, and somehow they're still rolling, they're still undefeated, and no one should be surprised of it. And really, quite frankly, I'm not interested in having the conversation of they haven't played anyone anymore.
Yeah, that's out the way.
Who have they beaten? It's just everyone. And we kept waiting for that moment when Carson Beck, a young quarterback, would make that mistake, maybe late on the road in Jordan-Hare. Right, and lose a rivalry game like that. That place gets weird. He didn't do it. Instead, he's leading game-winning drives with Brock Bowers. Or maybe when Brock Bowers goes out and he gets injured, maybe that's when Carson Beck would struggle and turn the football over. He didn't do it. He's got Ladd McConkey getting healthy, who's one of the best route runners in the country. They're starting to run the ball better. The defense is always been really solid. Now, one thing moving forward, and the line for the SEC championship game has opened now too, guys. Not to look too far ahead, but it's -3 Georgia before they face Alabama, which I think is about right. One thing, the ranked wins they have over Ole Miss, over Missouri, over Kentucky, all those games have been at home. So now they're going to go on the road to Knoxville. You and I were talking about this, Jake. I think Georgia is easily 10 points better of a football team than Tennessee is, but you're going into Knoxville, a place that can get wild on the road. We saw the way that Joe Milton was able to play in the first half of that Alabama game. That's my question is, if Tennessee could get off to a hot start, could they sort of not have the second half fall off that they had against Alabama?
No, that's the biggest question. I want to get to the nuts and bolts of this Tennessee game. I want you to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. We got a full show. We got live calls we're going to be answering. The lines open up at 7:15 a.m. Central. Timmy B's coming on at 7:10. We're going to get to those and roll through them. Remember, if you're calling in and it's on hold, let us take a call. Should open up part of the line. We're working on trying to get more lines because the calls and the phone lines have been blowing up. But we also have the live chat as well. Blaine, you know what I find interesting about the Georgia argument about the schedule is everybody talks about, oh, well, you haven't lost to anybody because you haven't played anybody, right? They don't talk about your wins, if that makes sense. Because if we want to compare schedules and compare wins, what better win does Oregon have than Georgia?
Mm-hmm.
They've got a big loss to Washington. I'll do you one better. What better wins, or how many better wins does Alabama have than Georgia? Who's Alabama beaten that Georgia hasn't?
Yeah.
Both beat Ole Miss, right? I think Georgia beat their ass worse than Alabama did at home. They're both about to play Tennessee, right? I know Bama beat LSU, but LSU has 3 losses. I mean, what better win does Alabama have than Georgia? Like, I don't understand this argument.
No, it's not an argument. Like, I'm not going to sit here and argue about schedules. Just look at Georgia.
Yeah, just watch them.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You got to remember they're supposed to play Oklahoma this year as well, and that game got taken out. So that doesn't matter. You can put anybody you want against Georgia, and the other week they're going to show up and be the Georgia football team. And you say this is Kirby's one of greatest coaching jobs. I would somewhat agree with you because realistically, if you look right now, they'll have maybe 4 guys going projected to go in the first round. Brock Bowers, a Bullard, Amarius Mims, Kamari Lassiter, Ladd McConkey, we'll see. But they're going to have plenty of people drafted. But right now, this Georgia football team is, my opinion, the best in the nation. And I think we can all sit down and agree with that. I think 10.5 versus Tennessee is a joke. I think it's a joke. I mean, especially after Tennessee, after what they just put on the field against Missouri, and it'd be different. I know it's at home, and Tennessee will play a better brand of football. They always do. They're 5-0 at home, and we see that. But this Georgia team, they're just built different. The way Tennessee's built is it starts with the run. You run to open up the pass with Tennessee. You didn't see that against Missouri. So as long as you think you could run between the tackles against Georgia, you can't. All right. Sooner or later, especially at halftime, Kirby Smart is the king of adjustments. He is the king. You can have success for something in the first half, but they will figure you out sooner or later. They will get their Rubik's Cube and figure you out and make you adjust. And if Joe Milton plays anywhere close to he did last week, 10.5 won't even be close. And I think Georgia will roll Tennessee in this game because Georgia does what every week? Get better and better and better every week. So 10.5 to me is a joke. You have 600-plus yards against an Ole Miss defense that's not scrubs, who've been playing pretty damn good all year. And you saw what Missouri just did on the run game against Tennessee, and you saw how Georgia exploded in the run game against Missouri.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny. We always talk about, you know, being a consistent team and having continuity as an identity. I had a coach one time say, it's not who we have, it's what we are that keeps us consistent. I thought that made a lot of sense because players come in and out, right? You have coaches that come in and out, but that identity, that culture, which is a buzzword that's, you know, used, it's too cliche-ish nowadays, but it's not just who we have, it's what we are. I think that goes a long way, and I think that's the trick. If there is a trick of turning a place that has potential, like a Georgia, like a Texas A&M, into an absolute monster and in a machine. But if we're going to talk about what Tennessee has to do, I think it's pretty simple. And I think Brady Cook did a good job of this. I think Peyton Thorne did a good job of this. I think Ole Miss early did a good job of this. If Tennessee is going to stay in this game, because Georgia continues, like Blaine said, Kirby's the ultimate chiropractor. I mean, he's just better at adjustments than you are. The quarterback run game for Tennessee has to be not just there, but vital, especially in the red zone. This Georgia team is unbelievably talented everywhere. Sideline to sideline, they're not as quick. And I know Joe Milton isn't a quick twitch guy, but I'm just telling you guys right now, just like against Missouri, just like we talked about before the season, just like we've seen throughout the season, Joe Milton goes up and down. What would Rick Weiss, Division III quarterback, call him? He's a bobblehead quarterback. All right, it's up and down. He lacks consistency throwing the ball. Even at home, when you have the momentum, and they'll hit some plays down the field, I think. I legitimately think Tennessee will when they start operating at that fast pace. But if they're going to be able to not just score a couple times and pray to God that they hold on and win and shut Georgia down, but be able to score throughout the game, Joe Milton's legs have got at least to the point where they're good enough during the game where it's a decoy, where they're able to hold guys. Because this Tennessee team, when they're running the ball downhill with the three-headed monster they got at running back, it takes so much pressure off Joe Milton. I just still, to this day, Blaine, I think there's a decent chance Tennessee covers that 10.5. But I don't trust Joe Milton to be able to make the intermediate throws. I'm going to say it again. And we got great friends in sports media, and everybody's wrong sometimes, and everybody's right. Nobody's perfect. But the amount of people that were gassing up Joe Milton during this offseason, and I'll say it every show, reputable guys, because it was the cool thing to do, right, at the time. You got to watch the tape, man. And you got to watch it and realize you're either looking at a nuanced thrower or you're not. Aiden O'Connell may not be the greatest example of all time when you're looking at athletic talent compared to Joe Milton. I'll take Aiden O'Connell every day of the week over Joe Milton, and Aiden can probably throw the ball 60 yards. I'd take Kellen Moore over Joe Milton as a player. It's not all about the fastball. And when it comes down to it, I just don't trust Joe Milton to be able to win this game. I do think Tennessee plays it close. It's the last really, big game at home of the year for them. They've really got nothing to lose. You got 3 losses in the conference, coming off a tough one against Missouri. I do think Heupel will get them to bounce back. I just don't trust Joe Milton.
Well, Tennessee has to do everything you're talking about on offense and then figure out a way to stop Georgia on their offense. That's one of the things that worries me. 52 points against Ole Miss, that's the side of the ball that's rolling to me. And I agree with everything you said, Blaine, everything you said. But one thing I do have to push back a little bit is you said the same thing about Georgia going into Auburn, remember? And really Auburn, when you look at it, it's not so much a scheduling thing to me as much as Georgia's really only had one away game this season. I'm not counting Vanderbilt.
No, that's neutral site advantage.
The only time we've seen him go on the road was to Auburn and Jordan Hare. I know things can get weird there, but we were saying the same thing before that game. Like, take your mortgage, take all your rent, and put it on Georgia. That game ended up being close. Like, is there any aspect of this that's like this Georgia team will be different going on the road to Neyland?
I just feel like the offense is a lot better than what you saw against Auburn. I feel like Georgia's offense right now, one, they're healthy. They've got a lot of running backs back, and got a couple of other pieces up front. You saw Brock Bowers come back last week, but the 600-plus total yards against Ole Miss, they're starting to hit their stride. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with Carson Beck. Carson Beck looks the best he's looked the entire year in the pocket,
Facts.
man. He's confident. He's on time. His feet look good. And I think running the ball has helped him so much. And I think you'll be able to do that against this Tennessee team, right? At the end of the day, if you can run the ball, and Georgia's one of the top 5, top 6
Kendall
teams
Milton's healthy
in the
now.
nation in time of possession. And what does Tennessee want to do? They want to go. So you're going to limit possessions already. Joe Milton didn't have his best game last week. They kind of fell apart in the fourth. I feel like Joe's had a better year this year. I believe he's 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But at the end of the day, Georgia just squeezes you to death. And you have to make the plays almost every time if you want to compete with these guys. And Kirby's got these guys believing more than ever. And I'm just telling you, Georgia, when they get into modes like this, it's usually not to take a step back. We're going to take a couple steps forward. So I wouldn't be surprised by this game over halfway through the third quarter.
Yep, we need to move on. We need to move on. Carson Beck, I want to make sure I give him his flowers, but to be on time, you need time. I think this Georgia offensive line, they're getting in third and shorts and being able to convert. They're giving them tons of time to go through the reads and throw the check down, but you have to be willing to throw the check down. You have to be willing to be patient. We always say patience isn't just for therapists and doctors. But we love the matchups this weekend, even though it may not be quote-unquote the best weekend of college football, even though I don't think that term really exists. But you guys know we love our sponsors too, especially a sponsor that can help you become the greatest of all time, a.k.a. the GOAT. Masterclass is an online platform that offers classes taught by well-known experts and celebrities in various fields. They cover a wide range of topics: cooking, music, writing, filmmaking, business, and photography. Personal favorite? Their 8-class series on how to make the greatest food ever, with classes on how to make pizza, ice cream, coffee, grilled cheese the special way, and more. Let me tell you, your mouth will water while you watch these videos. My wife is an incredible cook. We love watching these as well to really just diversify your portfolio, to get even deeper in your bag. Now, these instructors, they're industry leaders, they're renowned figures. You're going to know these people, all right? You're going to be able to trust them because you know they are masters in their craft. They typically consist of video lessons, workbooks, and assignments. It's really a unique opportunity. It's pretty cool, David. It's something I think Darby Lou would like a lot too. I
love these things. The writing ones too. I've watched.
I haven't checked out the writing.
Well, as someone who's was a filmmaker and written a bunch of scripts, I used to love the writing ones. And also Ron Howard, I think, has a great directing one too.
That would definitely be a guy that I would look at when it comes down to directing. I tell you, it's something great to show if you have a teenager, young adult, somebody wants to get into it, somebody that's looking to kind of get in this field. It's fantastic, and it's a great holiday gift. And this holiday season, you can give one annual membership and get one free at masterclass.com/Crane. That's masterclass.com/Crane, which is CRAIN. That's not spelled like the bird, even though we're super fly. Maybe my worst joke. But that's 2 memberships for the price of one at masterclass.com/Crane. Again, that's masterclass.com/Crane. Offer terms apply. Go check that out. Helps out the show, helps out you, helps out everybody involved. And also, go grab some of that merch. We're almost out at the shop. We're going to put the link in the description. Maybe instead of donating in the chat today, which we appreciate, you go buy a Christmas gift. I got asked if there's codes for merchandise on the website. There's not, but man, that's a good idea. I never even thought about that. So go check out that merch. All right, let's get to the Booster Club.
All right, let's go to Chris. He says Ole Miss is second in sacks and tackles for loss in the SEC, and they didn't have either of those last Saturday night. I think Georgia had their first third down halfway through the third quarter.
It was
something
incredible.
like that. Do we see that happening again against Tennessee?
Well, again, and you look at Ole Miss's schedule, you got to go to Bama. Did they go? They went to Auburn, to Bama, and to Georgia. God, that sucks. We talked last week. Ole Miss's defense isn't elite, but they're very opportunistic, right? That they're top 10 in sacks. They turn you over. They find ways to bend but don't break. But last week, you're running into the Great Wall of China, Like, it just so happens China happens to be in Athens, Georgia. I think what is going to separate Georgia in the end, and we've talked about the offensive line. I can sit here and talk about it ad nauseum. And Ole Miss, it's a tough environment. They hung in there early. But Dominic Lovett and Ra Thomas on the outside, too, figuring it out, opened it up for Ladd McConkey to be able to get in the slot, work inside it out. Then Brock Bowers coming back and Oscar Delp. That's something else to watch, too. But Georgia's just better than you up front. Like, that's what a lot of this comes down to.
I think it was worse than Ole Miss not having a sack. I saw something that said Ole Miss didn't touch Carson Beck once, literally. Like, didn't touch him.
Now, what a great way to live.
Let's go to Sporadics Media with a $2 donation. Appreciate it. It says, UT's DBs are bad. UGA will pick UT apart. And also, go Noles.
It's Tennessee's beat up in the secondary, too. Here's the problem. I don't care if you're beat up in the secondary. I don't care if you're really good in the secondary or you're just average. I will go back again to giving the quarterback enough time. You can't cover people forever. I don't care how good the DBs are back there. And Georgia's got guys on the outside, I just mentioned it, and the inside that can really, really hurt you. So the more time, the more separation. I just think, again, the ability for Carson Beck to sit in the pocket, and it's not just about down the field throwing. It's not just about the intermediate game. One of the reasons that you're seeing Georgia play so efficiently and stay on schedule is that, guess what? Deep third isn't there, middle third isn't there, working to the check down, we're in 2nd and 4, right? Because they spread you out, and they're so even. They're very balanced offensively, especially now that the run game's coming along. So, yeah, does Tennessee have the best defensive backs in the world? No. Does it really matter when I've got all day to throw the ball? No.
All right, let's go to Jessup. He says, Joe Milton played fine last week until the 4th quarter. The 2 fumbles and penalties in the red zone is what hurt UT last week.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, Joe Milton ends up going 22 of 34, had 260 through the air, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, scored 7 points.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if that's playing fine, if that's the standard, look, it's not. We always talk about offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators get paid to call plays inside the 20 and in the red zone, and that's true. But big-time players make plays that result in points. Like, it's not, I don't want a guy that just eats up yards. I'd rather you have less yards and it equate to more points because you made big-time plays in the red zone. Mm-hmm. Are you able to make that throw? Are you able to make that run? That's Joe Milton's biggest problem to me. It's not operating in between the 20s per se. How many slants did he miss last week against Missouri in the end zone, throwing them over the field goal post or over the crossbar? Go back and watch the tape in the red zone, because when the field shrinks, not only does the play calling get harder, those windows get tighter. Those safeties can work up a little bit more and help in the run game. They can be more flat-footed. That's when you find out. I thought Joe Milton was very, very, very average last week. Very average.
Let's go to Heartbroken Hog. Says, if Oregon State wins out, do they make the conference title game? Hope to see some chaos this weekend.
We're gonna get into that. I like the over more in this Oregon State-Washington game, and we're going to get into best bets. Probably need to head over there here in a second. Let's go ahead and get to rapid fire, Dave.
All right, let's do it. Looks like Sean Payton and Russell Wilson are starting to figure some things out, because the Denver Broncos have won 3 straight, including last night's 24-22 win over the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen turned the football over multiple times again. I think it's time for everyone to stop talking about this Bills team like they're a serious AFC contender.
And it's at some point, again, I'll use the line we always say on the show, you show me who you are enough, I'm going to believe you. I think it's funny that RG3 says nobody talks about Josh Allen's turnovers when every time I look at the television last night, they're talking about Josh Allen's turnovers.
There's always a graphic.
It's absolutely amazing. I remember the one they showed last night because it had Josh Allen's signature on it. It's like 93 total turnovers with Josh Allen's signature. And look, every one of them's not on him, right? You had the one to Gabe Davis that bounced off his hands, that the ball should have been caught. But most of them are. And it's not just through the air, right? I mean, this man turns the ball over a bunch when he's improvising. That's typically when it happens. But this Bills team, with all the weapons they have, with all the ability they have, James Cook fumbles on the first drive, right? Josh Allen throws the pick on the second drive. Is it Murphy's Law? What can go wrong will go wrong. Last night, Will Lutz misses a field goal. Bills should have won the game. You have illegal participation, 12 guys on the field. You give an NFL kicker 2 chances. I promise you he's going to make the second one. Some guys know how to win. some guys know how to lose. Some guys lose in clutch moments at the end of the year. Some guys lose throughout periods during the year. Seems like the Bills got a little bit of both. But the question becomes, when do you start hearing the word blow it up? Start from scratch. Hey, we need to change them. I don't think it's at that point yet, but it is a chronic problem for the Buffalo Bills right now, and it's been for a while.
May just be an offensive coordinator thing, too. I mean, it hasn't been the same since Brian Daboll left. I like Ken Dorsey a lot just because I grew up watching him play at Miami. I don't know. They haven't scored over 26 points in the last 4 games, something
It's unacceptable with that personnel.
It feels like they're pressing on offense. It feels like Josh is trying to do too much. And, I mean, you go back and look at this team. I mean, Cook's fumbled it multiple times. It wasn't on the big run he had. He fumbled and somehow bounced back into his hands. You look at their defense, they have a lot of key injuries on defense. 3 of their top defenders are out for the year. I mean, White and all these guys. But I think this game's more about the Broncos, man. I mean, Broncos, just came off a bye week. What'd you do the week before that? You beat a damn good Chiefs team, right? And you come into this week, your defense is playing well. Patrick Surtain looks great. Russell's starting to look like Russell again. Javonte Williams, you have one of the best backs. And one of the underrated things about the Broncos is they're pretty damn good up front when they're healthy. You have one of the best guards in the nation. You have Bowles, who plays left tackle, who's a phenomenal player. So right now, this Broncos team, they're starting to put some stuff together to where they can maybe make a run. But this isn't surprising with the Bills. This is who the Bills been the entire year. They turn the ball over. It's infectious. They will fight. It's a final destination type of thing with me. This isn't roll your ankle, ooh, ow, I tweaked my shoulder. No, this is ACL tears. This is we throw picks, we fumble the ball at the worst situations possible. And blowing it up, when you say blow it up, like, what do you mean? Like Josh Allen gone?
At what point do you start moving big pieces? Like, and I'm not talking about just Josh Allen specifically. Like, at what point is it like, all right, we have some young guys we like. What do we look to see if we can get for Stephon Diggs? Do we start trying to go about it a different way, maybe change some variables within the formula? Like I said, I'm not ready for that yet, and I don't think they're ready for that yet. And I don't put it on Ken Dorsey. I think the play calls are fine. You got to hold on to the ball. Josh Allen, you can't make the throws that you're trying to make. I thought the Broncos' defense was phenomenal. They kept them in the game because, the Broncos' offense really, they were getting field goals and moving the ball down there. But and I do think Russell Wilson's running the ball better than I've seen in a long time. But at what point do you change the recipe if every time you cook the food, it comes out bad the same way? How long do you bash your – because this window is closing for the Bills. It is the window is always closing because time does not go backwards. So at what point, if you're the Bills, do you try and change something? Trade deadline's gone. So, good luck in that.
Broncos won 4 of 6 since giving up 70 points to the Dolphins. All right, to Major League Baseball, Corbin Carroll for the D-backs and Gunnar Henderson for the Orioles won Rookie of the Year in their respective conferences yesterday. It's the 5th time that both league winners were unanimous.
Yeah, without a doubt. Gunnar, Alabama boy from Selma, hell of a player, really excited. What's crazy, Orioles, best record in the AL, in the American League, which you don't see that a lot, young talent. Arizona Diamondbacks just played in the World Series, young talent. It's going to be fun to watch these guys, and it's fun seeing them from teams that aren't your typical big, Red Sox, Dodgers, Yankees, whatever. Really cool.
All right, so the Jags wide receiver Zay Jones was arrested on misdemeanor domestic battery charges. He's missed 6 games this season. Did you guys hear anything more about that?
Haven't. I'm waiting for all the facts to come out.
Yeah, I know the Jaguars came out and said they're looking more into it and see what evidence they can find before. And I'm all for. I'm not gonna put my opinion on it until I found out the entire facts of what's going on.
Dan Lanning says there's 0 chance he leaves Oregon. He said the Ducks have everything I want exists right here when asked about the Texas A&M job.
I watched the clip of him saying this, and I think you can tell, like there's some guys that when you watch them deny they're going places, you're like, I don't know. I've seen this movie before. When I heard Dan talk about what he's doing at Oregon, is the contract situation, his kids growing up in the place they're growing up and how much he's enjoying that. I really believe I know there's a connection between Dan Lanning and A&M, right? I believe he's his first former personnel. I think he went there. I do not think there's a chance in hell that Dan Lanning leaves Oregon to go to A&M. Why? What? Oregon doesn't have enough money? Phil Knight wants to keep you. He's going to keep you. Go ahead and watch that documentary. See how that's working out for him right now. They ain't broke by any stretch. A&M's got tons of money. but Oregon's not broke. If I'm Dan Lanning, why do I want those problems? Why do I want those problems? You know, you're concrete at Oregon. You're building something there. You're going to transition with them into the Big Ten. I'm not going to A&M and dealing with those problems. I'm just not.
A couple more here. We talked about this really unfortunate situation in hockey a couple weeks ago where this young man, Adam Johnson, lost his life on the ice. One of the saddest stories that I can remember hearing. I saw this video came out last night of the guy, Matt Petgrave, is the one who lifted his skate high in the air. We had a conversation, you know, was this intentional? Could he be charged for manslaughter? All this kind of stuff. Matt Petgrave was on the ice last night and got a standing ovation. I just wanted to play this clip and see what you guys thought.
Okay. Did something come out that like totally cleared him of any wrongdoing or?
I mean, we had the conversation about how difficult it's going to be. Like, you're in the middle of playing hockey. Things happen, right? Like, you assume the risk when you go out and play hockey. Yes, it was, his skate went way too high. He's a very aggressive player, led the league in penalty minutes a year ago, but it was going to be difficult to like prosecute someone on this. I mean, we pretty much agreed on that. But I thought for sure he's not going to be playing hockey in the league again. He's already out there and getting a standing ovation.
Like, I'm
like, how are you on the ice?
I don't understand. I don't understand this. This doesn't, unless there was some new revelation that's like, oh, well, it's this we found out this is the reason. It was just this unfortunate, terrible. I watched that clip again, not that he was trying to kill him, but oh boy, that was not a natural hockey move. I'm not, you know, Barry Melrose by any stretch of the imagination. But I know what a natural hockey move. That was not a natural hockey move. You ask anybody that's ever played hockey, that wasn't a natural hockey move. I don't understand this. There's no way in hell you're going back on the ice.
Has he come out in like an interview or apologized or felt bad about it?
There had to be some
That's
sort of
what
revelation.
I like. Because look, man, it was bad. It didn't look natural. I never played hockey before. I'm not on the ice. He was trailing a guy. You know, there's plenty of people who can say what they want about it. But, you know, if he's come out and show remorse and apologize, and, you know, isn't there a little part of you that feels bad? You know, thinking if you are that guy and you did that accidentally and a guy did die on the ice, like you feel like you just feel terrible all the time. That you do get a little bit of love to come back and play the sport you love. Like, you know, I mean, there's got to be somewhat of some remorse that goes on when it comes.
Well, I'm not saying the guy's not remorseful. I don't think he tried to kill the guy. That's not what I'm saying. But I think he made an unnatural move. I think he's a dirty player. And I know how hockey works. You have guys that go handle business and things like that. I think he's a dirty player. But you know who I feel bad for? The person, the guy who's died family.
Yeah.
Like, if that's me, I'm not going to play hockey again this year. I need more time. If I am, and this is just me, I'm not him. If I'm truly remorseful, I'm not on that ice right now. I don't want to be a distraction, not only to myself, but that guy's family. If I genuinely didn't do something, especially getting a standing ovation.
I feel like sometimes when you are in that situation, you are that sad, you feel that bad, you kind of go back to things you love. That makes you feel more comfortable and more in touch with who you are. And that's what I believe for him is playing hockey.
Yeah, well, I think
I disagree
like,
with that.
A statement would go a long way in terms of saying, like, man, I try and play the game aggressively. This was an accident, you know. A statement would go a long way in terms of being remorseful, I think. But I'm not as well versed in the rules of suspensions when it comes to hockey, especially when it's down tranche in minor leagues. But I feel like I've seen guys have longer suspensions for just running into a goalie.
I don't get this at all. To me, that's like saying, oh well, I ran this red light because I was in a hurry and hit somebody and killed him, and that's manslaughter, and now I'll feel better. Just let me get back in my car. Like, I don't, I don't, that doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get this. If I'm the commissioner of this league, listen, good, bad, or indifferent, prosecutor or not, you're not going back on the ice this year. You're not. Guy died. A guy died
in a PR perspective.
Say it again?
Just from a PR standpoint.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is, I'm supposed to feel sorry for you? Like, I hate this happened, especially if you didn't mean to it, but I feel sorry for the guy that died. I feel sorry for the guy that died's family. Like, I could give a damn whether you play hockey again.
Sorry for both.
You know who I feel bad for? The guy who hit DeMar Hamlin, who he almost died on. I feel bad for that guy because that was an unintentional, devastating thing that almost happened. I guarantee you, if Damar Hamlin would have died, the guy that hit him wouldn't have played the rest of the year. How much you want to bet?
You don't think so?
I think T. Higgins probably wouldn't have played the rest of the year.
Yeah,
how can you say that? How do you know that?
How do you know he wouldn't play the rest?
I would say I would be willing to venture that he would, if they canceled the game and Damar Hamlin would have died, I don't think T. Higgins would have played another regular season game. I don't think he would have. Or if T. Higgins, if it had been something where T. Higgins took his helmet off and swung at him, and the guy died, he definitely wouldn't have been on there, even though T. Higgins didn't try and kill him. That was an accidental hit. He didn't lift his skate up and slit the guy's throat on the ice.
Well, I mean,
it was a dirty play.
Can't prove intent.
It was a dirty play. You even sat here and said when you watched it, that's a dirty play.
We can't prove that there was oh boy could have slipped a skate and it could have fell up there, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get it from a legal standpoint.
That's legally, yes. I'm not saying he should be in jail for the rest of his life.
I'm talking about just from like a league PR standpoint, why would you run the guy back out there and he's getting a standing ovation?
But
so maybe that's why they ran him back out there. You got a standing ovation.
Yeah. Last one here. We've been talking a lot about Jaden Daniels, so I did a huddle up on his performance this past weekend with being the first FBS player with over 350 passing yards and over 250 rushing yards. So if you guys want to play this, and we can talk about Jaden.
Yeah, let's go ahead and run this up. Let's go ahead and run it up and watch Jaden Daniels just freak out for a minute.
All right, huddle up. Let's take a look at this 85-yard touchdown run by LSU's Jaden Daniels en route to a historic performance. This is 11 personnel, doubles left, wide to right hip ram, Z Hall. Let's break it down. We're in a 2-by-2 formation with one running back and one tight end. So we got 11 personnel up against a nickel package with 5 defensive backs for Florida. Now, LSU motions that tight end just off the line of scrimmage to the field, which gives us 6 run blockers plus the quarterback and the halfback versus a 6-man box for Florida. It's going to be a run all day. LSU goes with inside zone read, which we're going to call Ram. So the offensive line is blocking that inside zone for the halfback to the right, and Jaden Daniels is reading the end man on the line of scrimmage, which here is the defensive end. Now the end has 2 options. Either he can squeeze and take that tailback, or he can keep contained and take the quarterback. Here he squeezes hard, and the next read for Jaden Daniels is to see, is a linebacker scraping over the top to replace that defensive end. No linebacker scrapes over the top, which means the next threat for Jaden Daniels is a strong safety coming from 10 yards deep. Jaden Daniels knows he's going to win that race all day. So he pulls the zone read. He elects not to throw the hitch route to Malik Neighbors in the RPO, and he's off to the races here. Now, for most quarterbacks, the metric for success against an SEC safety with an angle would be a 5-yard gain here. Maybe you break a tackle. Maybe it's a 10-yard gain. For Jaden Daniels, who runs 4.5 and is a Heisman Trophy contender, I guess an 85-yard touchdown will do. But I want to point out 2 more things here. Malik Neighbors on the outside. He runs his hitch route. When he knows he's not getting the football, he turns and gets upfield to block. Florida fans may say hold, but he blocks and he walls off the strong safety. He blocks 2 guys in one go and springs Jaden Daniels up the sidelines. And then Brian Thomas Jr. from all the way across the field runs 75 yards to set a block himself. That's 2 future NFL wide receivers, both setting blocks for their quarterbacks. That's one of the reasons this LSU offense is just so potent. And Jaden Daniels, first quarterback in FBS history to throw for over 350 yards and rush for over 200 yards in the same football game. Truly incredible. This is 11 personnel, doubles left, wide to right hip ram, Z Hall.
Great stuff, David. The more I look at this, I went back and watched some RG3 tape last night. Jaden Daniels is almost that fast. I think he is that fast. They clocked him at 21.8 miles an hour during the game running in pads. Like if you go Jaden Daniels is a different level of fast. Like there's track speed, there's 100-meter speed, then there's like football speed. Jaden Daniels runs as fast as he needs to get away from who's ever chasing.
Well, I think he gets 10 yards quicker than anybody in college.
His acceleration.
He gets 10 yards, man, just like that. And once you get downhill like that, you're already running past people. First of all, what a terrible job by the corner. And
awful job. Give Malik Neighbors credit, though. But yeah. I think if I'm an NFL scout and I'm having to make the decision on, well, do I want to take Malik Neighbors? Do I want to take this guy from USC? Whatever. And I turn on that tape and watch him and Brian Thomas Jr. blocking like that. That's a nice feather in the cap. But Jaden Daniels, again, And I know we're going to talk about the Heisman here in a couple weeks and stuff like this. Is it the best player in the country, or is it one of the best players on the best team that has the most clutch moments? That'll be a discussion. But
so one clarification quickly back on the hockey situation. So it says Matt Petgrave, he did not suit up for the Sheffield Steelers, but he did take the ice for the first time, and his picture was shown on the video board, and that's what led to the standing ovation from the fans. So he did not play. He did not play in that game.
Okay.
But his picture was shown on the video.
Makes more sense that he didn't play. Thank you for that clarification, David. I still find that whole situation just weird. But Jaden Daniels, next level guy. You're trying to take your fall style to the next level. Indochino's your guy or gal, however you get down. Because dressing for success can help you look better and be more confident, whether you're attending an important meeting, a networking event, or let's be honest, you're trying to impress that girl at work. All right, she's looking at what you're wearing. These are crucial times. You're in the red zone, per se. All right, you want to look good. So Indochino has everything you need: business casual, dress shirts, camp shirts, blazers. They offer a wide variety of options for every occasion, including cold weather. They got trench coats, wool, cashmere overcoats. You want to rock something at the tailgate? They've got you covered. So add fresh layers to your fall style with Indochino. It's Indochino. Go to Indochino.com. Use our code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, to get 10% off any purchase of $399 or more. It is a great holiday gift, like all of our sponsors are. That's Indochino.com. Use promo code BOOSTER. You'll look fly. You'll look awesome. You'll look daggum near perfect. Speaking about a guy that's daggum near perfect, a lot of people call him Tim Brando. I call him Brando, Timmy B.
Timmy B.
From the Chateau, Tim Brando. Timmy B, what's up, dog?
Good morning, gentlemen. Great
Good
to be
morning,
with
my
you as
friend.
always.
Yes, as usual. We're just looking at a Jaden Daniels highlight. Is there a comp, Timmy B, that he is, and Blaine brought up acceleration. I think that's probably it. When I am watching the game, Jaden Daniels looks like the fastest person on the planet.
No, he is, I think, even faster than RG3 in terms of football speed. I thought that was an excellent point you made. RG3, I think, had better maybe escapability and needed to because he was under more duress than Jaden, I think, most of the time when he was at Baylor. But it isn't to say that he's got a mammoth offensive line. I mean, he does a lot of it on his own. But let's give Denbrock a lot of credit, too, because recognizing the call to make against a certain defense, and David, I love those. Keep doing them. I love them. I love watching them. And even if you make up the names yourselves, I don't care. It's beautiful. It's it's good time football. Bottom line is, whether it's man coverage or cover two, you got to anticipate what they'll be in when you make that call for a zone read. And it was a thing of beauty. So I was being texted all night, and I had Nix and Caleb Williams in my game right after that game concluded.
Watched it, Timmy B.
And my boys are back at the 318 and the 225 and the 504, right, in my home state, are like, Brando, I mean, I know you're doing this game with these two guys, the Heisman winner. I'm just telling you, you missed it. It was unbelievable. And I'm like, fellas, I pump the brakes just a little. Let me do this game. I'll get back to you. And I looked at the tape, and it was remarkable. But in today's climate, fellas, that game that he had needed to be, in Tuscaloosa, not against Florida, in a game that not as many people were going to watch. And it didn't happen in Tuscaloosa. And that's why it's less of a Heisman moment than it would ordinarily be. And that's just the world we live in today. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that I completely agree with that philosophy, but that's what the Heisman has morphed into. A lot of it is because too many people are voting now for the Heisman. I was hosting College Game Day and calling college football games for over 10 years before I got a vote. I mean, it was not until I got to CBS in 96-7 did I get a vote, which I think I got 25 years ago in 98. And back then it was really a cherished thing to have a Heisman vote. And then they started really giving them out to a lot of other people. And it's as that's the case from a national standpoint, you always have that biased internal old AP writer vote that's always going to be voting regionally for whoever they see on a regular basis. So when you say having a moment, a Heisman moment, I think it has to be in the biggest of games, and especially
sure.
now with the voting being done not by mail, but by the internet, and everyone's waiting for those championship games to be played on the Sunday after December 2nd, so on December 3rd. And, Jaden won't be playing that weekend. So does he get invited? Yeah, he gets invited. Does he deserve to be considered a strong Heisman contender? No question about it.
Yeah.
But Dallas Turner knocking him out of that game, in my view, was the difference maker. And he needed to have that kind of moment. That was one of the reasons I picked LSU. I thought he could against Alabama.
Well, he was until he got hurt. I mean, they were.
That's
that
right.
was.
He was. He was.
That was back and forth.
And I guess you noticed Brian Kelly did take the gloves off. He waited a while before he did, but he had a kid that was not thrown out of a game for targeting on what was a suspect targeting call, and we see that from time to time. And then you see no whistle, not even a review on what is purely the definition of targeting, which was the case in that Alabama game.
Yeah, without a doubt. And typically they're careful. They'll throw the flag and call it because now, smartly, you can review it and take the targeting away, which when they just started, how stupid of a rule was that when they would throw the targeting flag and then you couldn't take away target. Even if it wasn't, you couldn't take away the penalty or whatever. It was an absolute joke. But Timmy B,
we need an overhaul. We need an overhaul of everything going on off the field. We need an overhaul of everything in terms of governance in college football.
Yeah.
As it relates to on-field and off-field, complete overhaul. It's going to be a very active offseason.
Yeah, I don't think it just needs to be to the government of college football and sports in general. I think we need a common sense overhaul overall.
Yeah.
But Timmy B, Jimbo Fisher, Gonzo the Clown from A&M. Finally, we talked about this. It was just like this story, like, I wasn't alive when like the Berlin Wall went down, but like were people like, man, one day that wall's gonna go down. I just know it's gonna go down. Ever since it's finally it just went down, and everybody couldn't believe it. When you look at, and I think Mike Denbrock's a name that's not getting thrown around enough when you look at head coaching circles. So that's a story for another day, and I know LSU fans don't want to hear that. I know Brian Kelly doesn't. But when you look at this A&M job, I talked about Urban Meyer yesterday. I think it'd be a great fit, Timmy B. I think so. And there's a big reason why that I don't think I really hit on yesterday that I probably should have. Nobody's done it before at A&M. Like at Florida, when Urban was at Florida, Steve Spurrier dominated at Florida. We've seen Florida dominate. He was at Ohio State. We know the tradition Ohio State has. Guys have dominated before. Nobody's done it at A&M. Like who do you think of at A&M? Like, and not that they've never been good, but nobody has dominated at that level. They can afford it, and I don't think, and I know that they've been talking about, that they don't want to break the bank for Dan Lanning and $20 million. Dan ain't leaving anyway. But I think you can get Urban Meyer for a decent price. Who do you think right now, when you look at this Texas A&M job, who do you like to get it? Who do you think they should get? And I just can't believe we're actually talking about Jimbo being gone.
Great minds think alike. Okay, great minds do think alike.
They do.
Yeah, and under normal circumstances, with everything that has gone on with Urban in the aftermath of his Netflix Florida show, to go along with the reasons why he had to leave Jacksonville in the National Football League. I am so anti-recycling Jimmy Sexton guys in the SEC. I think we've had enough. He runs 10 of the 14 programs in the Southeastern Conference. And by the way, I like Jimmy Sexton's a guy I like. He certainly is a damn good agent. I wish he had been mine at one point in time. But
JP Morgan, man.
But the bottom line is the recycling of these guys. I mean, how long does it take for that story to be out, right? Lane Kiffin's in negotiations with Oregon. I mean, and again, I realize the coaches have nothing to do with it. That's what Jimmy does. That's what agents do. And the firing line coming a couple of weeks before the end of the regular season is part of it too. But in this particular case, I think Urban would be considered a recycled SEC coach. No questions about that. He would be considered a recycled SEC coach. But because of the people that are financially tied to that 12-man foundation, them oil barons boys that are out in that country club that's for men only in Houston talking about what we're going to do and how A&M's going to be ready when them Longhorns come into the SEC. You hear? You feel? Hey, you feel me?
We need a dark empire.
God,
our dark emperor.
By God, we're going to get the villain, the black-headed, the guy that can stand up to some guy named Smart and that goat named Saban. He makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He does, for the very reasons you mentioned yesterday. And look, Urban was someone that I was very critical of at Florida. It was pretty clear he ran that entire Netflix program. They dusted a lot of stuff under the rug, but it still was compelling TV. That's sort of the way I feel about Urban. When you know him, when you get to know him, and I'd like to think that I have through the years, he's a complex individual. And for all that's bad that's always mentioned about him, there's a hell of a lot of good too.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to him and you get to that, you peel back the layers. That onion has a lot of layers as you peel it back. And because of the way A&M's construct is built, okay, he makes a lot of sense. And I was watching you do that, and I said, golly, boy, does that kid remind me of my younger self.
Not as good looking.
Because, see, how old are you now, Jake? How old are you?
Apparently
he just had a
I'm
birthday.
34,
He
yeah.
turned 40.
Yeah, no, I'm 34. Shut up. You're like 30. You're about to turn
34?
30. I can't wait.
Okay, this is my younger self.
Yeah, you got me beat.
Hey, save some for the rest of us.
Yeah,
bud.
I know. Goodness gracious.
I keep these handy all the time.
I
If
bet.
you like some, just let me know.
Yeah, so
Anyway,
does 60%.
We need one in
So
the
does
studio.
60% of the female population.
Anyway, bottom line, I got to tell you, I think Urban Meyer is going to lie in the weeds. Not much will be said.
Yeah.
But I do believe that there's no question that that's a guy that you go after. And he would fit perfectly with the people that are going to pull the strings financially here. The money is astronomical. We could go into that all we want. The bottom line is the university's only going to be really having to pay for about 20% or so of that $77 million, and most of that comes from where? ESPN's television money. Mm-hmm. So the oil barons, the old Texas money at A&M, all those Aggies, boy, they would love to upset the apple cart of so many in the Southeastern Conference by bringing Urban Meyer back. If Urban's up to it, that's up to him. Physically, does he want to go there? Okay, mm-hmm. He's already been seen in East Lansing, so it's not as if he's not interested in other opportunities or being used as someone to help with the hire because of the many contacts that he has in the game. So many great coaches have worked for Urban Meyer. So I think he makes a lot of sense. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but when I saw your piece on it, I thought, golly, that's
lines up,
probably,
right?
Yeah, that's something that 25 years ago I might have said. And when I'm at this stage of my life, I need to remember what I might have said when I was 28, 29, 34, 35, that kind of thing. So it makes a lot of sense to me. I don't disagree with you. Not at all.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I know David really wants Urban Meyer at Michigan State, but it looks like
no,
I
not want him at Michigan State. He'd be a perfect fit at Texas.
Hell, they're going to be Michigan and A&M will be in the same conference in 5 years anyway.
Possibly. That's a good segue. Tim, I talked to you a week ago. I asked, hey, will new Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti, will he react to this, this media scrutiny and this pressure and suspend Jim Harbaugh or do some sort of punishment there? Not only did that happen, but a 3-game suspension came down while Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines were on the plane en route to State College to play Penn State. Didn't even have time on a federal holiday to file any sort of temporary restraining order. That hearing's scheduled for Friday. But they come out, and with Sharon Moore as the interim head coach there, they beat Penn State on the road, didn't throw a pass in the second half. And it seems like, after that decision by Tony Petitti, the narrative has sort of shifted, so much so that Jim Harbaugh called Michigan America's team yesterday. I need your unfiltered thoughts and opinions here. Hit me with it, please.
Well, I'm a little disappointed that Petitti felt it necessary to do what he did because the timing of it. And again, full disclosure, I worked for Tony. I ballyhooed the hire when he was made the Big Ten commissioner. I think that he is long-term the answer for that conference. I think that, You need someone of his ilk to guide you through this transition. I don't believe there's any doubt that he and Greg Sankey together are going to be able to lead the way to the new college football format that we have in front of us and guide us and get the kind of television deals for the CFP that are necessary moving forward in that new TV deal in 26. So, I am still a Tony Petitti guy. I disagree with the timing of the decision. I don't disagree with some punishment, okay? And the way he put the thing together, what was it, a 13-page statement? It was rather long. It was written with a lot of legalese, and I thought the paragraph that mattered the most to me was the one about this is a penalty to the university, not
Here it is,
specifically
Tim.
to Jim
Here it
Harbaugh.
is, Tim. This is not a sanction. This is not a sanction of Coach Harbaugh. It is a sanction against the university that, under the extraordinary circumstance presented by this offensive conduct, best fits the violation. So it's not against Jim Harbaugh, but you punish Jim Harbaugh. And the Big Ten didn't even conduct its own investigation. They're using evidence from the NCAA. Or the bylaw is not even, it's an NCAA bylaw, not a Big Ten bylaw. I can't figure any of this out.
Well, I can figure it out. Okay, I can figure it out. He had already been convicted in the court of public opinion, and virtually every writer that's respected in the country. Okay, big time scribes, all of whom I respect. And the last time I was with you guys, I talked to you about using anonymous sources. I'm not going to quibble with guys that are using them. I've used them, but in reality, this was coerced. Okay, by the media that felt they had enough of the goods that they got from who? The NCAA. That's who the anonymous sources are. Sure. Any of us that have followed college football through the years know how they operate. And the NCAA goes after and gets the people they want. Okay, when they go after people they don't necessarily want, even if they get the goods, they don't do anything about it. So it becomes personal. And that's what this was all about with Michigan. I think that Petitti, because of the athletic directors all piling on, along with the coaches, and they were all involved in the Big Ten, I think he felt cornered and that something had to be done. Now, let me offer this up for you, okay, just as an explanation. When Mike Slive was in that similar situation with the eligibility of Cam Newton, and I know people don't want to hear it because it was not a similar offense. It was the selling of a player by the player's dad. But it was about, how would Auburn be effective if the kid wasn't eligible? And he was ruled ineligible by the NCAA for one day, the final practice before the game against Georgia, and the rest is history. He came in, they won a national title and moved forward. I think that Petitti had to weigh the options and say, okay, if I piss off Michigan, can they still get through this? The answer in his mind, probably yes. And guess what? Once he's back, and hell, he may be back with a stay this week. All right? He could. That possibly could happen. But in a few weeks, when Michigan is in the college football playoff and they go forth and win it, in the end, Petitti has got to live with all of these people. As I mentioned earlier, he serves at the pleasure of the presidents, not the ADs, not the coaches. So from that standpoint, I do think he was coerced. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And Tony's a young, commissioner. He's new to this from that standpoint. I think he probably did not understand or comprehend the political aspects of the inner workings of the Big Ten and how much pressure could be delivered to his office specifically. So I think in the end, it'll be okay. But Tim, right now, it does look bad for the commissioner. I thought he looked, in the manner that all of this was handled up to this point, as though he was bullied into a corner to make this decision the way he did. I really believe that. And the media had much to do with this. I mean, a lot to do with this.
Just to put a quick cap on it, what do you make of the reports that Michigan could leave the Big Ten? And I know those conversations for a fact have been had, but do you just see them as sort of a veiled reactionary threat?
Yes. I mean, a lot of people want to talk big when issues like this pop up. And I think that Michigan is always, and I think in large measure because Jim always marches to the beat of his own drum. I mean, look, Ward Manuel's not that high on him, and he works for him.
Yeah.
I mean, so the bottom line is that's Jim. Whether Jim stays or goes, that's another issue. Does he want to continue? as you know, I'm certainly not a Harbaugh apologist, but it's amazing how so many people in Ohio and other places were Brando is cowering to Michigan. Oh, I think Jim and I have had a few issues that have been well documented.
Yeah.
Same with me.
The depth chart. See the depth chart story from a few years back when I went in to do my first game, the battle for the Little Brown Jug. But I do think that in the aftermath of all of this, we'll look back on this similarly to the situation. Mike Slive had the background in the history as both a lawyer, a judge, someone that had worked for the NCAA, hearing cases like the Bruce Pearl case. Tony Petitti's never been in that world. He's never dealt with something quite like this. I'm not giving him a mulligan. I am being critical of the decision, and especially the timing of it, on the eve of the game and at a time when he knew that a judge would not be able to grant an injunction. But in the aftermath, for the greater good, I think probably this will be dusted under the rug and long since forgotten when Michigan rolls into the college football playoff, and I think they will.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to leave the conference, America's team, I know a conference. The American.
By the way, fellas, just a thought. Got this for you, all right? Best team. I picked Michigan to win it all at the beginning.
Same here.
Go back and look at my preseason top 10. People were saying Brando, Oregon third. Really? Oregon third? I'm just going to tell you right now, if Michigan doesn't win it all, the team that's going to beat them.
Wouldn't be shocked. I'm just glad we're talking about more than two teams.
No, nobody's playing any better right now than
Georgia.
Oregon.
Georgia looks good.
Right.
Bo Nix is unbelievable, and those wide receivers are incredible. And yeah, Georgia looks good, but those receivers this time for Oregon are better than the ones Mariota had that all got hurt.
God, I'd love to see
the Ohio
it.
State game in 14, and they're tough. This Oregon offensive line blew Utah off the ball when they played.
That's true.
That's a tough team. This Oregon defensive front is nasty, very nasty, and their secondary is playing at a very high level. They have the ingredients. And by the way, who better than Lanning and Lapoy, both guys that understand how Kirby operates, how Saban operated. I'm so impressed by those guys. I really am. And the Will Stein hire after Kenny Dillingham left and took the Arizona State job, my God, what a diamond in the rough he was. A former walk-on quarterback who really was trained by Petrino, helped bring Teddy Bridgewater to light at Louisville, and now he's like a breath of fresh air for the fifth time that we've seen Bo Nix have a change in coordinators, and they're just operating as smoothly as a team can operate. I think they're the best combination right now of offense and defense in a very explosive league. Here's the problem for all our SEC friends, okay? Alabama, we can't unsee Texas. Sorry, we can't unsee it. Oregon, we can't unsee the Washington loss. But guess what? You get a rematch. Alabama, sorry, Texas is not a league member. You don't get another shot. So as long as Texas remains unscathed, you're on the outside looking in.
Yeah. Well, Timmy B, you good, Blaine?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, Timmy, great stuff. Watch the USC-Oregon game. That was a hell of a call. Really fun game to watch. Little bit of gamesmanship and a chess match with the time of possession. I think that was the reason that game was as low scoring technically as it was. It was going back and forth. But where are you guys going this week? And it's always great to catch up with you, my friend. It's great stuff.
Well, we got Coach Prime on Friday night. Spencer and I are going to go into Pullman. Hey, you had to know that Fox, before the Pac-12 blew up, they had to send Spencer T and Timmy B back to Pullman, Washington.
For sure.
Just one more time, right?
Hard place to play. Hard place to play.
If he gets bowl eligible by winning that game and then against Utah, he will have earned 6 wins. And let me tell you, if Sanders gets into a bowl, he's my coach of the year. He is. If he gets to 6 wins, he's my coach of the year. Probably would be a runner-up if he only gets 5. That game, he's lost 2 games he shouldn't have. The Stanford game and now, last week's game. Missed a couple of kicks that could have been the difference. They controlled that game offensively. Shedeur didn't really turn it over. Just some big defensive lapses late that enabled them to lose that game to a good Arizona team. So, you know what? The best thing about this year is that it's going to lead into next. I cannot wait. I tell everybody, think about where we'd be right now. What would we be discussing if we were talking about 12 rather than 4? How much more meaning would there be to all of these games taking place that seemingly no one wants to cover because of Harbaugh Gate?
Yeah,
it would be awesome.
Gate.
I just hope it's the new norm. But speaking of prime, a guy that's always in his prime, Tim Brando. Timmy B, thanks, buddy.
Thanks, fellas. Always good to be with you.
See you, bud.
One of the best in the business. All right. Need to get to calls. We're going to try and sneak some of these bets in here. Let's go ahead and get to the phone lines. What do we got over there, Diesel?
All right, we've got Chanting Arrowhead on the line in Kansas City. What's going on?
What's up?
Morning, boys.
Morning.
Been 2 weeks since I last called, and it's been 2 weeks of pretty good, if not great, Missouri football.
Yeah.
The
Drinking
turnaround.
the boys.
Only losing by 9 to Georgia kind of stings, but you know what? I feel pretty good about that. If we can hold Georgia to 9, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
And then a complete steamroll against Tennessee, that always feels pretty good.
Well, with what Missouri has coming back next year, I mean, it's we've got to start talking about them as having a chance to win that. You know, I know divisions are going away eventually, but I think we've got to start talking Missouri, bringing back Brady Cook, bringing back Luther Burden. You know, outside of something crazy happening in the portal, which I don't see, it just seems like that team is getting built into the image of what Eli wants, and that longevity seems like an actual possibility. Relevancy with longevity, and that's something we hadn't been able to say about Missouri really since Gary Pinkel had him kind of rocking.
On the road to a 10-win season. You're going to have Florida at home this week, and then you go to the road on Arkansas to finish out the year.
Yeah.
What bowl game we think we're looking at from Missouri?
Could be New Year's 6 if it works out right. That's why that win over Tennessee was so big.
Yeah. I'm going to take a page out of David's book this time and claim even next year we are still the underdog. We are not getting back up to 10 wins. I mean, I am pushing.
For sure.
No. I'm pushing against Missouri being a powerhouse next year. No, not happening.
Who's going to carry the boats? As to quote somebody on this set. No, look, it's something where, you know, obviously you don't want to jinx it, but deep down in your core, got to feel great about the trajectory of Missouri football.
It feels amazing, especially after the last handful of years.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's good. It's good for the conference. It's good for the game. But hopefully you call back in, and after another win these next 2 weeks, if you're a Missouri fan, that's for Dag, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it,
brother.
man.
Thanks.
All right, let's go to Jake in Florida. Jake, how you doing?
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Clem Fandango.
Listen, so I know last time I called in, I talked about using the BCS computers for the playoffs. And, you know, Jake, you were right. I don't think we're getting away from humans deciding the playoffs. And so I'm going to do my best Colin Cowherd impression here to deliver my stance.
Go ahead.
So what's the best part about being human? It's the ability to use reason, logic, and to process what we see, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jake, I know you're a very analytical guy, right? You like rules and order. And so when it comes to the head-to-head with Alabama and Texas, I know you can't get past it.
Mm-hmm.
But see, the thing is you have one team that's trending that the entire season after that game, you have one team that's been trending up and one team that's been trending down. I would understand the head-to-head argument if both teams are playing well right now, but they're not. It seems to me Texas has peaked. Texas peaked week 2. How can you reward a team for peaking in week 2 versus a team who has progressively gotten better throughout the season? And if we're using reason and logic, we understand, hey, coming into that game, Texas has Quinn Ewers. They return all 5 of their offensive linemen from the last season. Jalen Milroe making his 3rd start ever. Saban's replacing both coordinators in week 2. So as a human, we understand all of these things, and it factors into our decision whenever we're comparing that loss.
Yeah, here's what I'll say. So on one hand, we say, why would we reward a team that peaked earlier in the year that may not be playing as good as team B, right? So I'm supposed to then say, all right, that opens up the avenue to reward a team for losing to that team when everything's even? Because from a standpoint of if one team had 2 losses, if Texas had 2 losses and Alabama had only had their 1 loss, I understand, I get it. There are some things, though, to me that are concrete, right? Head-to-head is one of those things. That is a trump card compared to everything else because typically in these situations, we don't get head-to-heads, right? Like the odds of Alabama and Texas actually playing each other in the regular season is very low compared to, let's say, comparing Oregon and Alabama right now, right? We can talk about that. Well, if Oregon's not, I think you look at trajectory and how a team is playing if you get to the end and they haven't played each other. But at the end of the day, when you play each other, I don't care who is playing good at the end of the year, if everything is even, if we do not take the head-to-head into consideration, you are saying that regular season games in the beginning of the year do not matter. They do not matter at all. So if we're going to go down this slippery slope, number one, I'm never scheduling anybody good ever again out of conference early in the year. Number two, if you're going to take head-to-head away, in my opinion, why do games even matter before week 7? Why even play a regular season? Why don't we just start with a tournament and just have everybody play, and it's a double elimination tournament through a 12-game regular season? If you lose 2 games, you're out. Because at the end of the day, what is a better way to judge 2 people? What is a better way to judge 2 teams? What is a better way to judge 2 armies outside of them going against each other? That's the best metric there is. Now, in that same token, I can say right now, if Alabama played Texas on a neutral field, I would pick Alabama to win that game. But guess what? They're not. They already played. Not only did they already play, they played at Alabama, right? So at the end of the day, I see what you're saying. In theory, right now, who's the better team? But we saw them play each other. We have that luxury, which I think is a luxury for the committee and is a luxury for football fans. And I think most Alabama fans, because if it was on the other foot, it would be a strong hell no from Alabama fans, right? So I can't get on board. I see what you're saying. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying as well. I'm just saying we're not computers, right? Like, we can take everything into consideration. It was a week 2 loss. It didn't happen in week 7. And I think it's crazy for us to eliminate a team after 2 weeks of football, essentially, and saying, well, you lost in week 2. Yeah, you got better, but oh well.
Well, again, if it was going up against a team they hadn't played, we can, that's a crux of an argument. We can have that debate, but they played at your crib. I don't care if it's week 1 or if it's week 18, and you got beat. So if everything's even at the end of the year, that trumps everything else. But all this will be solved, most of it will be solved when we go to 12 teams, Jake.
Maybe.
That's there'll be somebody that complains, but at this high level of the 1-loss teams, I don't think we'll have a battle over a 1-loss team.
Well, if Texas is as vulnerable as we all think they are, then they'll probably lose another.
They may lose this weekend, David.
And Alabama still has plenty on their plate. You got to go to Jordan-Hare and play in the Iron Bowl, and then you still have to beat Georgia, who looks unbeatable right now in the SEC championship, before we can even have a conversation. And there's still, because otherwise there'd still be 4 undefeated teams, and it may not even come down to Texas and Alabama. So these are the championship weeks, right?
Definitely. Jake, great call, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Call.
Appreciate it. All right, Addison in Indiana. Addison, what's going on?
Hey, just want to comment on the Jim Harbaugh situation as a Michigan State fan.
Oh,
please do.
I love this.
I'd love to hear this perspective.
As a Michigan State fan, anything bad that happens in Michigan, that's just a good day in my book.
Respect.
However,
Touché.
As a college football fan, whatever has happened to what Jim Harbaugh is doing is the best thing for college football.
How's that?
He's being taken out as it's a witch hunt. It's a witch hunt. Anybody that disagrees with that is delusional. From the beginning of the year with the hamburger situation or whatever, I hope he was slinging hamburgers on the sideline. to this of recording other teams' calls or whatever. Every team does this. Come on now. Every team does this.
For sure.
Okay, so that's a Michigan State fan there. You mentioned a Notre Dame fan in the chat yesterday. I talked to another Michigan State and a Buckeye fan in our office yesterday. Both said the same thing.
Real, recognize,
At some point, so Addison, let me ask you this then. What do you make of Jim Harbaugh coming out and saying this is America's team, which to me is clearly like an obvious troll at what he sees is an attempt to take him out and this program out?
Sure. At this point, I'm with Michigan. Michigan wins the whole thing. I want them to win it all.
There you go.
Just to stick it to the NCAA.
Dude, that shows you.
I vote for Michigan, and that's versus the Ohio State team.
Well, it's brilliant.
I hope Michigan loses everything.
Yeah, and Addison, I think Jim Harbaugh invented a manufactured adversity play in the playbook. I tweeted this yesterday. I've seen a lot of manufactured adversity plays. I've watched Kirby. I've watched Nick Saban. We talk about rat poison. Jim Harbaugh invented one on the spot. And you talk about the witch hunt. Oh, we're America's team because everybody out there hates us because we're having success, right? It's like he's invented one. It's not, oh, they don't think we're any good. It's that we're so good, they've got to invent ways to hurt us, but we'll bounce back because nobody wants to be part of the man, right? Nobody wants to be the government that's taking the guy. You know you want to be? You want to be the Braveheart guy.
Jim Harbaugh.
Right? You know, the guy that's going against it.
Jim Harbaugh is the Donald Trump of college football.
Man, that's
what
crazy.
He is. Draining the swamp.
I saw a head-to-head yesterday.
The swamp. Jim Harbaugh make Michigan football great again. Like Jim Harbaugh's the Donald Trump of college football.
What do you make of that, Addison?
It's fine by me. Jim Harbaugh can lead us to the promised land.
Look, it's a witch hunt.
As a Michigan State fan, I hate Michigan. I cannot hate them any more than I possibly can hate them. But Jim Harbaugh can lead me to the promised land at this point.
Look, I'd vote for him.
Look, hell, I'd vote for Addison after that call.
Addison, I need you to run for.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Addison, you better call back.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, if we're still doing call signs, I'll put mine in right now.
Please
go ahead.
We got broken-hearted hog, heartbroken Spartan.
Heartbroken Spartan.
Hey, yeah,
is that because Paul Bunyan's right here?
Yeah.
In studio?
Hey, come on now. Come on. I'm trying to give you all some credit.
Addison, thanks, buddy.
Boys.
Thanks.
Hey, man, keep calling in during basketball season, though. I still have high hopes for the Spartans. All right, buddy? All right, let's go to Devil Doc, also in Indiana.
Wow.
Indiana coming in hot today. Devil Doc, what's going on?
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
What's up, brother?
So first off, I want to talk about this Michigan defensive lineman. Did you see that play he made to come up and chase down?
Talking about 78?
Oh,
talking about 78? Who hawked him? Bro.
Yes. That was the best play of the weekend in my opinion.
That was the most Jordan Davis-looking play I've seen since Jordan Davis played at Georgia.
And the safety missed.
I mean,
that was a touchdown-saving tackle.
Really, Jurassic Park in the Jeep, they're running from him.
Yeah, they weren't running from the T-Rex. The T-Rex is running from him.
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm like, you know what? I bet the boys are watching that and just in awe. I mean,
we were, dude, in the living room for sure. On the multi-view. That's exactly right.
Yes. So I've heard a lot of this. The question I had was, I've heard this a lot, and I even heard Timmy B say it about Oregon. My question is, I believe, me personally, let's say Oregon wins the championship game against Washington. I think that's going to be a game.
I agree with that.
Neither here nor there. If they do, FSU wins out, Michigan wins out, Georgia wins out. Oregon's not getting in as a one-loss team. I don't care if they're the championship champion or not. If Texas wins out, they're in, right? Oregon's on the outside.
Well, here's if that happened, if that scenario happened, Michigan's in, they're undefeated. Georgia wins, they're undefeated. Florida State's in, they're undefeated. Texas has the head-to-head over Bama. I don't care what anybody says. Texas has to be in over Alabama, which eliminates them. So it comes down to Texas and Oregon, right? Texas's one loss being, I think Oregon gets, well, Texas is ranked ahead of Oregon right now, but Texas's loss being to Oklahoma, right? And let's say Washington's only loss is to Oregon and the Pac-12 championship. Is this the year where the Pac-12 being the best conference?
Would it help the conversation? Would it soften the Texas-Alabama conversation if you put Oregon
of? Well, that means Georgia beat Bama. If Georgia's in and undefeated, that means Georgia beat Bama. So Bama has two losses, right? Yeah. So Washington would have one loss. You got to put Oregon in.
Texas would have the best win.
You got to put Oregon in.
Well, Texas would have the best win going on the road to Alabama. They would have the same loss to a rivalry team on the last possession. That was the Red River Shootout in Oregon-Washington. So then it would have to come down to how did you look beating the team that beat you, right? How did Oregon beat Washington in the conference championship, and how did Texas possibly beat Oklahoma or wherever they play in the conference championship?
I would put Oregon in if it was me.
So you believe, David, that it would come down to the type of win the championship game.
I think at that point you're splitting hairs, and so the next 2 weeks, just like Tim Brando said about the Heisman Trophy, we're so reactionary in these past 2 weeks with the eye test. 7-8 weeks ago is so forgotten that it would come down to how you win these next.
I'm telling you, the best way to solve it, like I said yesterday, punt, pass, and kick.
That's fun too.
Come down to the fourth team, last team. All right. Here we go. Give me your best.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at it like this is going to be a really hard decision for them. If that pans out that way, I mean, I would not want to have to decide between Texas and Oregon. I think they're both great football teams.
Yeah.
I do think Oregon's playing better, but strength of schedule, stuff like that. I mean, I would not want to have to make that decision.
that what Jake was talking about in Florida, the scenario that you just gave us, that's when you look at who is playing better right now, when there isn't some concrete head-to-head that puts them above, right? Or one team has more losses than the other team, or one team's undefeated and one has one loss. That's where I think that attribute really comes into effect. Great call, man. Indiana's hot today.
Appreciate it, Devil Doc.
Hansel at the male model.
All right, let's go to the last one today. War Badger in Texas. War Badger, what do you think?
Hey, good morning, Kings. What's going on?
Good morning.
What's up, brother?
Hey, I want to ask you guys, what are your thoughts that Wisconsin has a chance to make a bowl game? They got Nebraska at home this weekend and Minnesota left.
Here's my thoughts. I'm so let down. Luke, Wisconsin and Arkansas are the two preseason predictions that I feel I missed the most on, right? Wisconsin, I thought in the Big Ten West with Tanner Mordecai coming in, with Luke Fickell in year one, and I know Mordecai's hurt. I've been so let down by Phil Longo on offense this year. And I don't think I'm alone, obviously. I'm sure Wisconsin fans feel the same way. But I think making a bowl game, yeah, that's great. But I even in year one, I expect more from Luke Fickell in the Big Ten West at a place like Wisconsin. If you're going to fire Paul Christ, to bring in Luke Fickell to make that hire, I know it's year one. He'll be fine over time. I need better results early. I need to feel better about it early. That's my opinion.
100%. It's been a disappointing season for sure.
But look, I like Luke Fickell. I think long term, I thought the Phil Longo, Tanner Mordecai marriage is going to work out better.
Transfer portal helped them out a lot. In Wisconsin.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they get some good recruits in during the.
Oh, they will. Luke knows how to evaluate too, and the coaches he brings in knows how to evaluate. I think it actually hurts Wisconsin. I said it. No, it doesn't help anybody more than Penn State to go from divisions into the 12-team playoff. I don't know if it hurts anybody worse to leave divisions than Wisconsin. If I'm in that Big Ten West, man, I'm not super thrilled about divisions being gone.
No, right.
But War Badger, thanks, buddy.
War Badger.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Speaking about waking up, though, hope you guys are having a great morning. Hope you hit that subscribe button. Going to get to chat in 1 second. Everybody knows we love Black Rifle Coffee. You don't always have time to brew coffee the traditional way each morning. That's why you need Black Rifle Coffee's ready-to-drink cans. It's a hurry-up, up-tempo offense of coffees. All right? The ready-to-drink coffee is perfect for people who need their coffee quickly. Each contains 200 milligrams of caffeine, even though caffeine has no effect on me anymore. And is available in a variety of flavors: vanilla bomb, salted caramel, mocha, vanilla caramel. Yeah, it's a delicious situation. And we know the Booster Club. They're a Black Rifle Coffee Club. That's what we do around here. You come to the meetings, you come to the tailgates. What's getting passed around other than friendship? It's Black Rifle Coffee. And they have tons of delicious flavors. It's a veteran-founded coffee company that's operated by principled men and women who honor those who protect, defend, and support our country. So stop running out of coffee and sign up for a coffee club subscription at Black Rifle. Save money and drink America's coffee. Go to blackriflecoffee.com. Use our promo code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, at checkout for 10% off your one-time purchase or first coffee club order. That's blackriflecoffee.com. Use that promo code BOOSTER and get that 10% off. It helps out them. It helps out us. It helps out you. You can find it in the grocery store and convenience store, but we all know you want to go to blackriflecoffee.com and use that promo code BOOSTER. Surround yourself with the.
I got a new roast this week.
Oh, what
Christmas roast. I think it's called 30 Presents Out.
Nice.
It has Santa on it with his sleigh. Never had it before.
Tell me how that is. You
Just
want
got
to
it
know? I
yesterday.
can guess. Delicious.
Yeah.
Use that promo code Booster. Get you some of that as well. All right. We'll get to our bets tomorrow. Let's see
do
the
it
line
tomorrow,
movement a little bit. Let's get to the club real quick.
All right, Brian Orr with a $5 donation. Appreciate it, Brian. It says, since firing Andy Avalos,
Yeah.
who should Boise State go after to be their next head coach?
I think it was a good move by Boise to get rid of him. I know where you're going with.
I know where he's going.
Here's
I know
the
a guy.
question. Who
I'm just
goes
saying I
in-
know a guy.
Who goes and snatches up Andy Avalos at DC? That's USC.
True, too.
Smells like USC.
Who would be
Say,
a
hold
good
on. Lift the lid of the pot. Hold on. What? Oh, it's USC. Wow. This
Same with Zach Arnett, right?
Yeah, I think Zach Arnett's going to do. I want to see what happens with Baylor and Dave Aranda, right? But what does Zach Arnett end up at LSU, and does Andy Avalos end up at USC?
So we'll do a big Mississippi State thing tomorrow.
We should do
with
like
their-
the Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like the board with the.
But who should be the next head coach?
You go ahead and say it. Say your
the next
piece.
head coach at Boise State?
Say your
If it's
piece.
me, Kendall Briles. I know where you're going. The Potato King.
No, yeah. I mean, he's somewhere doing incline bench right now. Just waiting on a chance to go ruin a program.
What's his name?
Talking about the house cat, Brian Harsin? Go back to where they bring you milk, man.
This man just said he's out somewhere doing incline bench.
Right now.
Don't recruit. Don't worry, guys. They'll come to us.
Yeah, let's go to Sportsmark 784 with a $5 donation. Appreciate it, brother. He says, I'd like to offer my apologies on behalf of all Pitt fans to Jake for giving him the business about their record. Also, can Crane
Hold on.
coach our team? I don't know if you can.
Yeah. Hey, hold on. Can you read that again?
I'm not reading it while you do that.
Oh,
If you're on audio,
what did
you
he say?
really
I gotta
don't
plug
get
in.
some of the stuff that happens on
I gotta
the
plug
show.
in a cord. It's like 4 inches
5-inch
long.
cord.
Yeah. That cell phone sucks.
All right, let's go to Adam Robinson with the $5 donation. He says, I'll be laughing as UGA takes a pee on Ole Miss Rocky Top while Tennessee fans turn off their Xbox after winning the national championship. Oh, man, dude, that's funny.
Oh, it's great.
All right, you going to get the bets? That's all the donos for today.
Hope y'all grab some merch. Here's what I got. Been a good month so far. Nobody's talking about it. It's the Mac tonight, which, if you don't know, Mac is Spanish for, hey, guess, because that's what happens during the Mac. So, give me Bowling Green. Fighting Scotty Loves plus 10.5 at home against Toledo. Toledo's the best team in the Mac. Hope they win it. Picked them to win the conference. And then Eastern Michigan, Northern Illinois. Both of them on the money line, which, good luck, at plus 137. David, what do you got?
Well, congratulations to the Buffalo Bills. They didn't win last night, but you did make the dead to me board. So congratulations.
Yeah,
on
wow,
that.
big
And
accomplishment.
Villanova not only didn't cover the 11.5, lost outright.
But that's how you want it to be.
Yeah, you'd much
That's how
rather
you want
them.
it.
Oh, no. If you're not covering, I want you to lose.
Yes,
At the end of the game, I'm pulling against you. But tonight, Eastern Michigan, minus 2.5. That's what I got up there on the board, right? Eastern Michigan,
Yep.
minus 2.5, minus 160. And the Toledo Bowling Green over 51, minus 110. Ball coach Scotty Leffler. Let's dial up some plays to score a lot of points tonight.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch them
Giants.
get 3 in the red zone, run 3 jet sweeps. Hey, Will Lutz. The easiest bets ever, man. Just take the field goal kicker.
Why don't we
Over
not just take
5.5.
it every game in the
It's
NFL?
easy. I took the over-under 47.5, and you know what? You can't make an extra point. They don't go down there and kick that field goal. Then I'm feeling pretty good about a lot of things. But hey, we'll take it 1-1. I'm surrounding Toledo in this game.
Surrounding them?
Surrounding them. It's a situation. Give me minus 9.5. It's minus 115. Give me that TTP. Yeah, y'all know me. That's going off at 30.5. I like the over in that. Let's go minus 120.
And my handwriting was oddly good today.
Yeah, it is.
Weird. I go through days where the handwriting just it makes me think maybe like
You're autistic?
reincarnation's a real
Oh,
thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe I was just like one of those people that wrote on like the old documents.
Yeah, like I'm
Like-
I
Dude, their
can't
handwriting
draw.
used to be
I
so
can't
good.
draw at all. But for some reason, like when I was in 5th grade, I drew like the nicest picture of a Sperry. Like it's in a museum somewhere.
Is it
Like
yeah,
other than
no,
that,
it's
it
always-
just looks like I got hit by a truck.
what does Danny O'Shea say in Little Giants? Man, there's always that one time. They may beat you 99% of the time. There's always that one time. That one Sperry.
Cheese, Danny.
Hey, this cheese that cheese, Danny.
Don't go in my room.
And he's just taking Western Michigan plus 5 at minus
Okay.
110. And he's got Toledo minus 9.5.
Big
My
shout out to
was
Cortland Sutton, Javante
115.
Williams yesterday.
You see that
was
catch
big.
Cortland Sutton had last
Yeah, I
night?
had him first touchdown.
Blaine had
And
him
the
first
throw
touchdown score to
for-
win $2,800.
Wow.
I hit that, and then I picked Javante anytime touchdown the second half. That hit.
Wow.
Couldn't believe it. I made 3,200 last night.
Big night for you last
Yeah, I
night.
needed it. I was down bad. Chad Smith, $5 donation to the man with the most normal name ever. Dylan Gabriel, official in the top 10 in all-time passing yards.
Yo.
Boy, DG.
Ooh.
OU now has three of the top 10. Gabriel, Baker, Landry Jones at number 3.
Landry Jones. I
Landry
forgot
Jones.
about Landry
Haven't
Jones.
heard his name in a while.
How about Trevor Knight?
Trevor Knight?
Yeah, how about Trevor Simeon?
We
I
keep
go down
going.
the list, dog.
All right, poll.
Poll.
Who covers Saturday? Tennessee plus 10.5.
Not that one.
Georgia minus 10.5.
No, people rolling with
Georgia.
Georgia. People rolling with Georgia. Davey, you go first.
75%.
Wow, 74% got to. Got a price is right.
Georgia minus 10.5, 88%.
Wow. 8%.
88?
Plus 10.5, 12%.
Is that real?
It's a real poll. It's real numbers.
God, that makes me want to take Tennessee plus 10.5.
Now it's starting. Now I'm
God,
starting
now
to
that-
feel
That makes me want to
excited
bet
about
more
it.
on Georgia.
Now the suit's
Does it?
messed up. All right, we appreciate you guys. Appreciate the donations. Timmy B, great stuff as usual. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button. Keep sharing the show. Got a great one for you tomorrow. We're going to get to our early bets tomorrow, so don't think we forgot. Just didn't have time because time flies when you're having fun. We appreciate you guys and like the chances of college basketball letting me down this March. Haha, we're going. Gone. That would have
Didn't
been
ate that
clutch.
popcorn.
That would have been clutch.